So this is an 8-part new drama, Wednesday nights on BBC Two from Tom Rob-Smith, who brought us a show last year that I was absolutely captivated by, the assassination of Gianni Versace. This is about a sort of media mogul family led by Richard Gere, who played Max, and his son Caden, played by brilliant Billy Howell. He's sort of overseeing the media empire in the UK. And there's his mother, played by Helen McCrawley, Catherine, is working as sort of a homeless shelter and befriends Joseph Moore's character, and there's a little frisson between them. And you sort of see the influence of Richard Gere's character, because he's sort of in all the right places. He's meeting up with new prime ministers and candidates and seeing who he wants to back with the paper. And then towards the end of the episode, which is what the series is going to be about going forward, Caden, Billy Howell's character, has a massive stroke, and the family are forced to come together after being quite disparate after all those years. How was that? That'll do.
Yeah, there was a lot to sort of unpick in there. You missed the whole thing with the undercover investigation that's going on as well. You know,
yeah.
The first scene where there's the girl going missing and stuff that feels completely sort of divorced from what happens afterwards.
Right. So, Helen, why don't you start us off on this? Did you go to the screening, didn't you, of this one?
Yeah, I went to the screening, and again, I have a bit of a habit of it at the minute of walking into a screening not knowing what I'm actually seeing. I find it quite exciting doing that. So yeah, I didn't really
just walk around town with a blindfold on, take it off, and go, I didn't expect to be here.
Yeah, but you're like, oh, what is this? But stumbled into this one, not really knowing what it was going to be about, and I was completely captivated. I have to say, this is one of my picks that I've been telling everyone in the office to catch up on. Richard Gere is just mesmerising in the role. Helen McCrory is obviously fabulous, and Billy Howell, I've never really seen him in anything, and I just thought he plays such an incredible part. And you know, the drama just from the first episode is brutal, it's funny, it's harrowing, and you have all of these emotions within an hour, and I honestly felt completely shocked by the end of it. I could not wait for the second episode. And I'm recommending it to everyone, I have to be honest. The sex scene in it was one of the worst things that I've ever seen.
Yeah, watching that in a room with other people was just uncomfortable.
It was awkward. I mean, everyone I was sitting around was gasping, and, you know, and especially the end scene when there's the open brain surgery.
Yeah, that was very graphic as well.
It was hard to watch, but I think, again, it was necessary because, you know, you see in the worst kind of family relationship happening, and you need that kind of horror almost to match the horror of the family. That's what I felt. But yeah, it was the screening was tense, actually. It was very tense, but yeah, I did enjoy it.
Why don't you talk next, Matt, because you went to the why don't we leave the one person who didn't go to the screening until last?
Yeah. Yes, because I was there as well, and I similar feelings. I think Helen McCrory and Joseph Mull, those scenes were my favourites, definitely. I just find her such a captivating screen presence in anything she's in. Richard Gere, I struggled with a little bit. I found he was sort of quite. He did it quite big. All of his scenes were quite big. I don't think he put enough sort of charm to the role. That's something I would expect from Richard Gere. Billy Howell, I thought, did better as you learnt more about the character. He's sort of like he was trying to sort of live up to his father's expectations of him. You know, he had this very sort of empty life. And then I thought he acted out the scene with the stroke superbly. I thought he was brilliant in that scene. I'm interested to see where all the strands go. Again, this is one where you need at least one more episode to sort of make a judgment on where you're going to go with it. But I found some of the scenes a little bit obtuse as well. There's that scene where they're talking about accoutrement, and I just found that a bit, you know. But I remember
I need to educate you a bit. I'm always talking about that.
Looking back to the assassination of Gianni Versace, I think we both thought that the first episode was the weakest, and it's as it went on and as you learnt more about the characters. I mean, they did the sort of the flashbacky thing with Versace, and I think reading some of the press notes here, they do that with this as well. You see Catherine and Max their sort of relationship beginning, I believe. I haven't seen any of the rest of the series, but I think that's something that they do. So I think you learn more about the characters as you go on. So I think this is like the starting point for the series, and it's going to sort of take a couple of episodes to sort of realise where it's going.
He'll survive.
How can you know that?
Because he was born fighting. I watched him arrive into this world more dead than alive. The umbilical cord around his neck. Skin was blue. But he hung on.
Only you could speak about the birth of my child as though I went there.
You were there, but you didn't see.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't see. There were doctors, nurses huddled around him. But I didn't need to see. I knew. And when they handed him to me, the most beautiful, fragile little boy,
Yes.
barely ready for this world.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And when you stepped forward to take him from me, I had an instinct. Not to let him go.
I have to say I really, really like this. I think for me it helped knowing that it's written by somebody that I already sort of admire, so I was willing to take a gamble on it, even in the bits that I was more unsure by. I thought, well, this is going somewhere, he knows what he's doing, and I'm just going to go along and trust him on the journey. I'm also very pleased that it's an 8-episode thing, because we get those so rarely in the UK, and it just means that we're going to have a breadth of drama and more time to tell a story that could go in very different directions. The stroke thing was really interesting. Helen McCrory, fabulous, as we always say. I've got 2, 3, 4 and 5, I think, in my preview section to watch, and I will binge them all, I think, because it is a show that once I start watching I am entranced with. But I was surprised to read some reviews. Matt's is up on the website, as he says, but a lot of people calling it self-indulgent and silly, and I don't know, I don't think I agree with that at all. I think perhaps they were coming at it expecting it to be something that it turned out not to be, and I do think the sex scene put a lot of people off, and I think it was perhaps unnecessary, really. You know, I don't like things that are done specifically to shock, and I do feel like that was there for shock value. I have no desire to see that ever again.
But then if you think back again to Versace, that had some, you know, that scene with the easy lover always sticks in my mind.
That's because you're a massive Phil Collins fan.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I would recommend this actually to most people, but I think it would be with the caveat that there are some weird bits in, and just go with them and
But then that does explain you know, it wasn't just there for shock value, you know, it had something, you know, it was showing you part of the character of Caden and his sort of insecurities and things like that. It wasn't just there for the shock.
You did need it, and although it was hard to watch, you know, my opinion of Caden completely changed then. I didn't feel as sorry for him, because I thought, okay, there's you know, there's a kind of twisted soul behind this. So I didn't, you know, before I was like, oh, this guy's just messed up from his parents, but then I was like, oh, okay, he's got some other issues as well. Although it was probably, you know, 5 steps too far, I did see why you needed it.
Okay, so Mother, Father, Son is weekly, Wednesdays at 9 on BBC Two. Maybe we've not sold it to you very well, but please stick with it, because it is going to be one that I think will be worthy of discussion, perhaps in a later podcast as the story moves on. And Richard Gere grated on me a little bit. I thought that he would know what shortbread was as well. I thought, there's no way he doesn't know what
Yeah,
shortbread
that was
is.
the first thing you brought up with me when we talked about it after you'd seen it. Because you, having lived in America for years, you were like, well, they do know what shortbread is, though.
Yeah. If that's the only issue I've got with the show, though, that shortbread and sex scenes, that's not too bad. Two of my least favourite things
Just
in the
don't mix
programme.
the two or you get crumbs all over the sheets.
Oh, we're better than that, Matt. Just
I'm
slightly
not.
organic-
I'm really not.